Howdy. We've had about 2 months of Trump Take Two, and although it feels like it's been a million years, an exciting twist this time around is a total lack of any kind of cohesive or substantive response from the Democrats. So, just how badly are Dems handling the bevy of executive orders and other actions taken by Trump and Musk? Let us count the ways. Hey everyone, I'm Catherine Mangue-Ward, editor-in-chief of Reason, the magazine of free minds and free markets, and I am here with Nick Gillespie, editor-at-large of Reason. Say hi, Nick.
Hey, how you doing, Catherine?
Okay, so we're back, and we have a Dem strategist like James Carville, who is still alive, turns out, saying stuff like play possum. Essentially, the Democrats should do nothing and let Trump tire everyone else out.
What I've said very publicly, the Democrats need to play possum. This whole thing is collapsing. It doesn't need Elizabeth Warren and somebody screaming to pacify some progressive advocacy groups in Washington.
Is that the right approach? What sticks out for you about the opposition to Trump this time around?
The one thing I'll say is that I think Carville may be right on some level. At least the big battle is going to really now come over tax cuts and how those get discussed.
Did that hurt you to say that?
No, not really, because I think there's a lot to discuss. But
that dude just like I never want him to be right, even when he is right.
Oh, really? I kind of like James Carville.
I'm team Mary Matlin, which I know history has not been kind to me, but
yeah, somebody should check in on her. I mean, is she like a withered corpse in a rocking chair in their upstairs bedroom or something? But
props.
It is. They have nothing going on right now, and depending on how they want to talk about spending versus taxes, they might actually have something to say, by the time the tax cuts come up for real discussion.
So what is the primary artifact for you of the Democratic response? Is it Chuck Schumer? Is it Gavin Newsom?
Yeah, it's all of those and more. I mean, but, the first thing that comes to mind to me is the lack of organized, hashtag resistance, but the capitulation that is Gavin Newsom's podcast.
Charlie Kirk, what the hell are you doing here? By the way, what brings you to California, your favorite state?
It is my favorite state in the union. You're doing such a great job here, by the way.
You have a guy here who is the head of California, the most populous state, the single largest economy within the United States, one of the top 10 economies in the world. And he is not only doing a podcast, which seems odd, but is groveling in front of people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon, who do not even have immediate access to the White House. I mean, Steve Bannon, you and I have more input into the second Trump administration than Steve Bannon does. And yet Gavin Newsom is talking about, I was wrong about this, I was wrong about that. The failure of him to come up with either a defense of what he's been doing in California for the past 1,000 years, or what he might do differently, or what Democrats might bring differently to a theory of governance is kind of overwhelming. And, that podcast is worth watching because it's almost like a struggle session. It's deeply disturbing.
Well, and I appreciate the notion of agency, that we're not bystanders in the world. It's decisions, not conditions, that determine our fate and future. And that fundamental notion of agency, I think, is important more broadly. And I think that goes to some of the issues around, victimization. And I see a lot of that, respectively, on the right, increasingly, even with Trump often approaching things from that sort of mindset.
What do you mean? What do you mean for Trump?
I think
and then related to this is the other kind of culture stars of past Democratic years. Somebody like Michelle Obama also has a podcast that has already come and sunk without a ripple.
She has like tens of listeners, right?
Former First Lady Michelle Obama has launched a podcast with her brother Craig Robinson titled IMO, and it's not off to a strong start. She's reached...
Yeah, and it's like, Meghan Markle is, and her and Prince Harry, I realize it's a little bit different, but it's fascinating to see all of the cultural power of Democrats or left-leaning or popular best-selling authors. Remember, Michelle Obama's book sold 1 billion copies, and nobody cares about them anymore. And it's partly because we were tired of what they were saying. And then with somebody like Newsom, if you have nothing new to say, please shut up.
I feel like Newsom is very willing to have something new to say, though, right? Because he doesn't strike me as a super principled dude. Like he's not in politics because he has a vision of the world he wants to see. He's in politics because he likes for people to look at him and listen to him. And so, in that sense, the like pivot to podcasting, bro, matches up perfectly, and the pivot to um as you say, kind of struggle session, like peacemaker,
Right.
apologist, whatever it is, um, also makes sense. But he doesn't mean it, right? Like he's never going to actually be sorry for what went down during COVID. He's never
Well,
actually going to connect with people that care about that, is he?
yeah, I don't think so. But then he should be more upfront about it. Or, when he's talking about, how stupid it was to go to the French Laundry, not just get caught at the French Laundry during COVID, during his own COVID lockdowns, or sending his kids to private schools that were open while the public schools were closed, partly by his mandate. He needs to explain what he was doing. And, there is a California model of governance, for better or for worse. And I mean, I think it's tanking, but it's in opposition to, what's going on in Texas and Florida. And he should be at least able to make a defense of that. And he doesn't seem capable of. But what about you? What is when you hear, okay, the Dems are in disarray, the Dems suck, what comes to your mind first?
For me, it's been the like weird kind of apologetics for the federal workers, because I do think it's understandable to me that the rest of the country would have, even people who identify as Democrats or who don't think that shrinking the government is a good idea, that they would have a little bit of a little bit of like Schadenfreude, a little bit of like this is the comeuppance for people in the DC area. Um, we've had some major economic upheavals in recent memory,
Right.
and DC has been totally recession resistant.
Yeah.
And I think that you really can't underestimate how important it is that people who are not feeling great about affording eggs, who then look at the stats and see that 5 of the 7 richest counties in the US are in the DC area, they might have some questions, and they might think,
Yeah.
gee, maybe all the storm and drang about some of those people getting fired is a little misplaced, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, it's definitely, I remember, back in, I guess it was the late teens or late aughts or early teens, when the Hunger Games, really became popular. We were all talking about the Hunger Games as, as a description of contemporary America. And, just more and more loot was being sent to the Capital District. And it is kind of amazing to think about DC being recession proof, because there has been so much up and down in the economy. And I think the tin-eared response of people, saying like, it's always been my job. It's been my dream to be a park ranger, and now I might not be able to do it. It's like, test that before you kind of roll it out writ
Yeah.
large.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, as a purple-haired resident of District 1, I am sensitive to some of those Hunger Game comparisons, but I do think it's really astonishing how you just hear over and over the federal workers making the case that they shouldn't be fired because they have really good intentions.
Yeah.
They really want to help, and I think that's true. I mean, I too have good intentions, but I should be fired if you spend a lot of money on me and I don't do a good job.
Yeah.
Are they, is Doge perfectly matching up the people who are losing their jobs and the people who are bad at them? No, they're actually being pretty inefficient about that.
Right.
But I just would like to see a lot more appealing to, I can't be forced out of my job because I am doing a very, very good job at important work.
Right.
And a lot less of, you shouldn't force me out of my job because being a park ranger is my dream.
Yeah, or it's my job. I have a job. If I didn't have this job, I wouldn't have a job. And as somebody who would love to see the federal government get much smaller, I think people could make those arguments to reach a lot of people. Like, our hearts may have been hardened to a government that has a $7 trillion budget. But I think there's a lot of people out there who could be convinced that this is catastrophically wrong, or it's a bad direction. But they're not even trying, which goes to this idea that, they're still being, blindsided by the idea that they have to explain who they are and why they matter.
So the other kind of aspect of this is not the public opinion side, but just the 17 people who actually have power in DC and what they are doing. Let's talk about Chuck Schumer,
Yeah.
because everybody in this city is mad for one reason or another at that old man.
The potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country, to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open.
What do you think? Did Chuck Schumer make the correct but difficult call for
I
the party?
Yeah, I don't know. And this goes back to the Carville thing where it's like, I would have liked to have seen a government shutdown. I kind of liked the last time this happened and the time before that, because I think it actually revealed, that things go on pretty well without having maximum government, running in sixth gear or something like that. But I think Schumer could have pushed a shorter term CR or something like that. But like he couldn't even fully hold his contingent, and he should have done something to work on the people like Rand Paul in the Senate, who I guess is the only Republican who defected. But I suspect he could have picked up a couple of votes if he had said, you know what, the reboot here is going to be fiscal responsibility, as opposed to, we just have to stop what Trump wants, or we're afraid that Trump is going to get everything he wants. But I think, the fact that he folded the way he did is partly, to me, it also relates to the other thing that comes to mind when I think about the Democrats this time, the placards that they were holding up during the, during the State of the Union, where it's like they're at some kind of really bad, like Division III basketball game or something, where the fans are too polite to actually cheer or jeer at people. There's just something going on here, which could be. I think I don't care about the Democratic Party. I think it could be ultimately a good thing for the Democratic Party to finally figure out, okay, well, what do we stand for now? And I think it will be good for the country to have a real opposition party, even if what they're pushing is totally anti-libertarian in profound ways.
I mean, I think your sort of characterization of the grumpy little placard waving is on my mind, particularly with respect to abortion. So obviously there's a lot of motion on that issue right now, and the country is super divided. And
although more pro-choice than basically it's ever been.
Right. And yeah. Harris ran on that and lost. So I can understand why people are feeling a little bit nervous. But as someone who is incredibly pro-choice, radically pro-choice, it sucks to look across the landscape and see that at least at the federal legislative level, what's going on with abortion right now is like a bunch of people looking grumpy in Pepto-Bismol colored suits. Like that is not what I want to see as someone who supports abortion rights and wants to see those rights defended. And I recognize a lot of the action is at the state level, and there are people doing good work there. But like the grumpy pink suit and the frown and the little circle sign that just says like no is not what I want to see from people who are supposed to be defending my rights. All right, we're going to play a little clip. I think it might even contain some of those pink suits. Let's take a look.
Choose your character.
Looking at this, and it's taken me a while, like I am literally blinded right now as I'm talking to you after seeing that. And I've played Donkey Kong and things like, it is staggeringly awful. It is Gavin Newsom's podcast on human growth hormone and steroids and drugs that haven't even been created yet. What comes through ultimately is the utter lack of substance to me, where one of the people says that she hates balloons. That's like part of her tagline. And the other one, another is not into tie-dye. AOC is a Trekkie. Like, what the fuck? I mean, people, there is a sense now that because Trump has won, that all people care about is reality TV and the most kind of opera buffo, Worldwide Wrestling Federation antics and things like that. People are starved for substance, and people are starved for actual alternatives. People are unhappy with the direction of the country. Offer serious things that people might say yes to. It's just staggering to me.
This also just looks like an act of desperation. Like, they are out of ideas and somebody said, we're going to make this video. And each individual participant knew in their hearts that this wasn't a good idea, but none of them had the courage of their convictions to say, we're going to look stupid. This is not a good idea.
If I
And
may,
that's true at the video level, and it's true at the legislative level, right? Like,
it's like Andrew Tate is in charge of their videography right now.
Oh,
or something.
sweet
It's just
baby Jesus. No.
so stupid.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. If you enjoyed this, check us out at the Reason Roundtable podcast. New episodes every Monday. Bye.